Your family still speaks to you like the man you were 5 years ago. They remember the abandoned plans, the inconsistent months, and every promise that produced nothing. What they cannot see is the private identity you are trying to construct. But there is a reason their judgment remains frozen while you feel yourself changing. And until you understand that mechanism, every attempt to prove yourself will make you look less certain. Your family may be wrong about your future, but they are not irrational for remembering your past. You speak from intention. They judge from evidence. And every hour you spend defending the man you might become is an hour stolen from building the proof that would make defense unnecessary. There is a hidden mechanism inside almost every family. People do not meet you as a completely new person each morning. They create a compressed identity for you. The responsible son, the difficult son, the dreamer, the safe one, the man who always starts but never finishes. These identities make family life predictable. Everyone knows what role each person is expected to play. Then one member changes. The dreamer becomes disciplined. The irresponsible son begins building a business. The quiet brother develops ambition. The man who abandoned 5 projects begins another one and says that this time is different. Inside his own mind, the decision feels revolutionary. To the family, it looks like another announcement. That is where the conflict begins. You believe they are refusing to see you. They believe they have seen this before. This is the first truth you must accept. A declaration is an event. A reputation is accumulated memory, and accumulated memory is stronger than a single emotional decision. You know how serious you feel. You know what happened during the night when you finally became disgusted with your weakness. You know the promise you made to yourself. You know the future you can see. They do not have access to any of that. They have access to your history. They remember the schedule that lasted 1 week. The business idea that disappeared after 1 month, the training plan that ended when motivation left, the promises that sounded powerful and produced nothing visible. This does not mean their judgment is accurate forever. It means their judgment has evidence behind it. A strategic man does not reject information because it injures his pride. He studies it. Ask yourself what they have repeatedly witnessed. How many times have you announced transformation before producing it? How often have you demanded respect for an identity your behavior did not support? Where is their judgment unfair, and where is it based on a pattern you have refused to correct? The weak man needs every critic to be jealous. The strategic man extracts intelligence even from people who underestimate him. This is why explanation usually fails. You believe they lack information, so you give them more words. You explain the plan. You defend the schedule. You describe the opportunity. You talk about your new mindset. You show them how serious you are, but you are offering invisible evidence. Intention, conviction, potential, plans, future ability. They are evaluating visible evidence, consistency, completed work, customers, income, output, behavior under pressure, past performance. You are speaking from the future. They are judging from the historical record. The less proof you possess, the more language you use. The more language you use, the more emotionally invested you appear in persuading them. The more invested you appear, the more obvious it becomes that their belief still governs your confidence. You believe your explanation communicates certainty. Often, it communicates dependence. This does not mean a serious man never explains anything. If your decisions affect shared money, housing, responsibility, or risk, clear communication is necessary. But there is a difference between responsible communication and identity pleading. Responsible communication says, "This is the decision, these are the risks, and this is how I will meet my obligations." Identity pleading says, "Please agree that I have become the kind of man who can succeed." The first transfers information. The second requests permission. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are." He was writing about rulers and political judgment, not family relationships. But the mechanism still matters. People cannot inspect your private conviction. They judge the signals available to them. They see your schedule, your completed work, your income, your customers, your habits, your response to pressure, your history. You may feel the birth of a new identity. They still see the evidence left by the old one. And this creates the most dangerous trap. A man who needs his family to recognize his new identity begins negotiating with them before he has built it. He announces plans too early. He exaggerates small victories. He interprets every skeptical question as disrespect. He spends emotional energy managing their reaction instead of strengthening the work. Every argument costs concentration. Every premature announcement creates pressure to look successful before you are competent. Every attempt to prove your potential exposes how dependent you remain on their verdict. Eventually, you stop building for reality. You start performing ambition for an audience. You choose goals that look impressive quickly. You chase visible status before durable skill. You confuse being seen working with producing results. You mistake silence for failure. The mission becomes secondary. The real objective becomes forcing the family to admit that you were right. At that point, they still control you, even if you leave the house, even if you stop speaking to them, even if you later become successful. A man is not free from another person merely because he rejects their judgment. He is free when their judgment no longer determines his movements. This is why you must understand the difference between a private decision and public proof. Self-perception can change after a decision. Social perception changes after repetition. You can change direction in one night. You cannot change reputation in one night. One disciplined morning does not erase years of inconsistency. One customer does not erase several failed projects. One completed project does not immediately replace the identity of a man who abandoned 10 others. For you, the first result proves that a new life is possible. For them, it may still look like an exception. That is not always cruelty. It is how trust in a pattern develops. If a man repeatedly broke promises and suddenly said, "Trust me, I have changed," would it be intelligent to restore complete trust immediately? No. Trust returns through repeated behavior. Yet when your own identity is involved, you demand a lower standard from everyone else. You expect them to believe your internal struggle because you experienced it. They did not. They did not feel the humiliation that forced the decision. They did not live through the private vow. They did not witness the moment when your weakness became unbearable. They can only observe what survives after the emotion is gone. That is the real test. Not whether you felt powerful when you began. Not whether your plan sounded convincing. Not whether your family understood it. The test is whether the schedule survives boredom, fatigue, doubt, slow progress, and the absence of praise. A serious identity is not supported by emotion alone. It is supported by order. The decision changes your direction. Repetition changes your name. If you are the kind of man who is tired of consuming truth without converting it into power, stop mistaking recognition for progress. You already know that nobody is coming to validate your potential. Your real problem is building consistent evidence when no one is watching. If you keep announcing what you intend to become, you will spend your strongest years defending a future you never construct. Inside Patreon, you get the unfiltered strategic frameworks, deeper psychological analysis, and practical systems designed to turn isolation into discipline, discipline into proof, and proof into leverage. This is not for men searching for comfort. It is for men prepared to govern themselves. The decision is yours. But even when you stop explaining, a harsher problem remains. Proof takes time. So how do you survive the period when the change is real, the discipline has begun, but the world still has no reason to believe you? That period is where most men break. They do not fail because the new identity was false. They fail because they could not tolerate the delay between becoming different and being treated differently. The first thing you must understand is that evidence has levels. Not all proof carries the same weight. Most ambitious men become frustrated because they treat an internal decision as if it should have the social force of an external result. It does not. The first level is private decision. You say, "I am changing." This matters to you because direction begins here. But socially, it is the weakest form of evidence. A decision establishes intention. It does not establish credibility. At this stage, protect the decision from unnecessary exposure. Do not demand applause for a seed that has not yet survived the weather. Write the plan, define the schedule, remove the obstacles. Tell only the people who must know. A decision deserves discipline, not recognition. The second level is repeated behavior. The schedule survives emotion. You work when you feel inspired, then you work when you are bored, then when you are embarrassed, then when the results disappoint you, then when nobody asks what you are building. This is where intention begins to become character. Many men can produce intensity. They work all night after being criticized. They wake early for a few days. They delete every distraction. They declare that they are entering a period of isolation. Then the emotion fades and the old system returns. That is not transformation. It is reaction. Your family has seen reactions before. What they may not have seen is quite the same working hours, the same standard, the same refusal to dramatize. At first, they may mock the routine. Later, they begin planning around it. They may never praise your discipline, but they start treating it as a fact. That is the first sign that your identity is changing socially. The third level is visible output. Finished work exists. A completed product, a functioning business, a published archive, a portfolio, a qualification, a documented client result, a body of work that can survive after the conversation ends. Visible output matters because it cannot be reduced to intention. It may still be imperfect, it may still fail commercially, but it exists. This is where many men discover that they were more attached to the identity of building than to the act of finishing. Unfinished work protects fantasy. Finished work permits judgment. That is why completion feels dangerous. While the project remains hidden, you can imagine that it is exceptional. Once it enters the world, reality answers. But reality is exactly what you need. Potential is private. Output becomes evidence. The fourth level is external validation. A customer pays. An employer hires. An audience returns. A client reports a result. An institution grants access. A respected professional refers your work. This stage carries more weight because the evidence no longer depends entirely on your own interpretation. Your family may dismiss your confidence. It becomes harder to dismiss independent demand. You are no longer the son who says he can do something. You are the man another person trusted, hired, paid, or returned to. This is often where recognition begins to change, not because strangers are always right, not because markets are perfect, but because outside response breaks the monopoly of the old family narrative. The fifth level is leverage. Ignoring you now has a cost. Your skill is difficult to replace. Your audience belongs to you. Your savings give you the ability to refuse. Your customers return. Your work creates demand. Your departure would create loss. This is the level most men fantasize about while standing at the beginning. They demand the respect of leverage while possessing only the emotion of a private decision. That is why their words sound larger than their position. Most men ask for recognition at the weakest level of evidence. A strategic man builds through every level without confusing one for another. Steve Jobs understood this through experience, not theory. He was forced out of Apple after internal power struggles. The company did not reject a stranger. It rejected one of its own founders. He could have spent the following years explaining that Apple had misunderstood him. Instead, he built outside the institution that had rejected him. He created Next. He acquired the company that became Pixar. Next did not immediately dominate the market, and its hardware struggled, but its software became strategically valuable. Years later, Apple acquired Next. Jobs returned because he possessed something the weakened company needed. He did not argue his way back into the old identity. He returned with leverage. His talent alone did not restore his position. Need did. The institution revised its judgment when the old judgment became expensive to maintain. The same mechanism appeared in the early history of SpaceX. The first 3 Falcon 1 launch attempts failed. After repeated public failure, people did not need to be jealous to doubt the company. SpaceX had provided visible reasons for doubt. Then the 4th launch reached orbit. Before that moment, SpaceX was a company claiming it could build an orbital rocket. After that moment, it was a company that had done it. The difference was not emotional. The evidence changed the category. One successful launch did not erase every risk, but it destroyed the argument that success was impossible. Your task is the same in principle, even if the scale is different. If people see you as someone who talks about building a business, build one. If they see you as someone trying to become a writer, finish the manuscript. If they see you as someone attempting to build an audience, publish until the archive exists. If they see you as financially unstable, accumulate reserves. You do not escape an old identity by arguing with the label. You escape by making the label factually obsolete. But there is another danger. Not every family member doubts you for the same reason. Some are responding to your history. Some are afraid for your safety. Some do not understand the path you chose. Some are protecting the existing hierarchy. Some benefit from your dependence. And some may simply be correct about weaknesses in your plan. Before you call doubt jealousy, test what it protects. Does the person criticize the plan or attack your identity? There is a difference between saying the business model has weak margins and saying you have always been a failure. Do they revise their judgment when the evidence changes? A skeptical person who updates his view may be rational. A person who invents a new insult every time you progress may be defending a hierarchy. Do they respect boundaries? Concern that allows autonomy is different from concern that demands control. Do they benefit from your dependence? Some people lose convenience, authority, labor, or emotional importance when you become independent. A strategist does not need everyone to be an enemy. He needs to read motives accurately. And then comes the final trap. Suppose they eventually believe in you. Suppose the family that mocked your ambition begins to praise your discipline. Suppose the man they called unrealistic becomes the most successful person in the room. Have you won? Not necessarily. If your entire life was built to force them to regret doubting you, they still control the direction of your life. Revenge chooses its goals in relation to the enemy. If they value wealth, you chase wealth. If they mocked your career, you chase a title. If they dismissed your business, you remain in a bad business, because quitting would feel like proving them right. Now their judgment still controls your strategy. Only the direction has reversed. A man is not free because he becomes impressive. He is free when his decisions are no longer organized around an audience he claims not to need. Do not build your life as an argument. Replace "I will prove them wrong" with "I will determine what reality requires." Replace "They will regret doubting me" with "The work will survive whether they regret it or not." Replace "I need them to see who I became" with "I need to become capable of governing what I build." The practical strategy is simple, but not easy. Complete projects. Document measurable results. Protect your working hours. Reduce announcements. Build financial reserves. Create skills that are difficult to replace. Let consistency speak before ambition does. And when you do communicate, show artifacts. The finished work. The client result. The archive. The paid invoice. The reserve account. The product. The evidence. If this video exposed the difference between being underestimated and still being unproven, like it, subscribe to Depths of Psyche, and leave one honest comment stating which level of evidence you are currently building. Do not describe the future. Name the proof that exists today. Your family does not owe your future identity immediate recognition. Your past gave them a pattern. Only repetition, output, validation, and leverage can replace it. So stop announcing the man you are becoming. Build until the old description becomes impossible to defend. And when recognition finally arrives, it may already be too late, because by then you will have learned how to move without it.